Good evening, Denver Bronco Roundup fans, Denver Broncos fans, and it's a win, man, as we jump on in here. I'm out here, I'm like trying to get all my shares all taken care of because last thing I need is someone jumping in and say, man, you didn't share it to my favorite page, man. I missed you. So getting all my shares in, getting all excited about a Denver Broncos win. My name is Keith Brugman. I'm your host. Just to the side of me, I got Mr. Trevor Salzman. Welcome in, Trevor, man. Talk about a Broncos win.
Oh, it's about time. I mean, it's like it's been a while since we got a win. It's something we were hoping for at the halftime. We were talking about it. This team found a way to hold on. This is a Packers team that wasn't going to give up. We knew that. No NFL. In the NFL, no win is an easy one. As the Bills found that out today, as they lost to the New England Patriots. So, just happy for a win, and we can actually talk about a W instead of the draft. That's finally right now. We can enjoy sit back and enjoy this one, at least for now.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be still plenty of talk coming down the pike. The Denver Bronco Roundup and Rocky Mountain Sports Network are going to have shows, well, again on Tuesday, just as an example. I'm sure it'll still creep in at that point as all the games get sifted out and trade deadlines still come up. But tonight, guys, we don't need to talk about trade deadlines. We don't need to talk about who's off this team. Tonight we can talk about a win, what went well, what went great, and talking about well and great in here early, Mr. Michael Ronquillo. Thank you so much for jumping in. Like I said, before we even came live, he was over there on YouTube because he knows what it's all about. Our YouTube subscribers are entered in for our giveaway. I said, maybe if we got a win, well, we got a win. I think we'll end up giving it out. So I'll have to get my list all put together of all you guys that have subscribed since we've announced this, and then you'll be entered in. Michael, I'm sure, is one of those guys. So good evening, Michael. He says, good evening, Keith and Trevor. Go Broncos, and dang right, go Broncos, man. That's what it's all about, man. Trevor, you were talking a little bit earlier about how you were in a debate about winning versus losing, man. Sure feels good to win. And why does it feel good to win? Not only to us, but why you were arguing with a guy on the radio, actually. But we can digress from there and talk about your reasoning, man.
Yeah, just, like I said, we're talking about the draft. We're talking about all these quarterbacks. It's still early in the college season, so we don't even have a complete accurate assessment of these quarterbacks yet in college. And again, a win's a win, regardless of what we think, and what we think about the future or whatever. That'll take care of itself in due time. We're still right in the middle of the season. It's important for us to look at the now. And if we're ever going to start winning and then the culture's going to start changing here, these wins are really important to, getting success down the line. And it's great to finally get this win and to finally not have to talk about Russell Wilson being gone or quarterback change, any of this stuff. Let's just celebrate this. Russ, there were some line adjustments that he made today. I really like. He wasn't perfect. This wasn't a perfect win by any means, but a win's a win. Russell Wilson, he was good enough today to get the job done, and we can finally move forward and have something to look forward to going to Kansas City, as maybe this is a potentially momentum changer going into Kansas City.
And that's what it's a little bit about, man, because, like you said, at least at some points throughout a season, if you're going to retain 20 of these players, you want those 20 of those players not to feel like absolute losers for the last 5, 6, 7 years, however long they've been here. At some point, you need to have a little momentum. You need to have a little bit of, wind in your sails. You need to be able to say, yeah, we went in there and we got one. We got a win. And I think it's a lot more important than trying to tank for a potential. And heaven forbid you come up just short. You come up short and you're sitting there at number 7. It's like, great, we just threw away an entire season for 7. We said we're not going to talk about this, Trevor. Man, yeah. I digress. I'm not going to digress out of the comments because our good friend and typical co-host, Albert Knopper, says, hello, guys. Sorry I can't join you today. No worries, Albert. You're joining us in the comment board, and we always appreciate that. And come in with your comments as well, man. It's usually live in person, sharing the screen with me and Trevor, but maybe Jody as well. But that being said, man, jump in the comments. And I got to say, I'm going to throw that back up there. You notice Albert's name and his awesome Mile High Dutchy logo came up because he told Facebook that he could that they could use his information over here on StreamYard, and that's why we're getting that. So feel free to do that. Kenny hasn't yet, but he's done the next best thing. He says, in parentheses, Kenny, Facebook user, congratulations on the win today, fellows. A win is a win. And same for my Giants. I'm more than happy to get that W. Absolutely, bud. Congratulations, Kenny, over at the fantastic K&K Sports Show. You might even see a few of us over there sometimes. You might even see a few of them over on our show because, man, the invite's open, and I've already got one guy that I know that wants to come on the show. So look for that in the future. We'll get that all set up as Mr. Joey Clams wants to come on. If that isn't intriguing enough just in the name itself. So, no, Kenny has the fantastic K&K Sports Show. They cover all the major sports from coast to coast. So definitely have that East Coast flair. They like their Giants. So if you're a little bit of a Giants guy, maybe on the side, got that NFC team that you kind of follow, maybe it's a Giants. That being said, K&K Sports Show, check them out. David Slade coming in saying, at least one Sunday where we can be happy. Absolutely. Exclamation points, the whole 9 yards. David Slade, usually he's a critic. He's going to tell it like it is, man. Glad that you're able to be happy today, Dave, and enjoy that win. Dave, I got to mention it. I'll mention it right now, is the owner of our fantastic sponsor, Willow Seasonings and Blends. And I'm telling you guys, if you need a sauce, seasoning, or rub, this is the place to be. I'm going to throw it up on the screen. I'm going to try to get rid of comments as well. But willowseasonings.com, that's willowseasonings.com, and you can check them out. Use promo code DBR2023, get 15% off. I'll talk a little bit more later, but absolutely check out what Dave's got going on over there. I'll bring this back down if I can figure out all my little clicks and buttons. Trevor, this defense, it looked fantastic in the first half. 9-0, heading into halftime, man. That's exactly what you want to see, man. A complete shutdown. Now I will say a missed field goal from 43 yards, I believe it was, by the Packers. Nonetheless, hold them. We're up 9-0. Talk about the defense in the first half, and then maybe talk about a little bit about the defense in the second half. We certainly let it loose a little bit more, but it was enough in the end, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The defense in the first half, and we looked great. I mean, they couldn't get anything. One quick stat I want to mention: AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones. We talked about Aaron Jones. I think this last week for the game, and he had 8 carries for 35 yards, and AJ Dillon had 15 carries for 61 yards. So it was just 96 yards in total from both those guys. So that's huge right there from this Broncos defense that has allowed rushing yards in the past and had a lot of teams just to run all over them. They were great all game consistently. It wasn't just halftime. It was first, second half. It was complete all game. So that was just great to see all around the game. Jordan Love, I think what forced the Packers had to kind of pivot a little bit when they didn't get the run game going. Jordan Love had to throw. And so what happened at the end, PJ Locke got that interception. Jordan Love's going to make, he's going to make those decisions where sometimes a little questionable. That was a questionable throw down the field right there from Jordan Love. So that helped get the win for the Broncos. So, but first half, just complete dominance. Leave that into the second half. It was the same thing. I mean, Packers they gotten into the game a little bit more. There was some questionable stuff with Kareem Jackson in that head-to-head right there. And then you had the Patrick Tan kind of iffy 50-50 ball right there. And that was a referee. I believe it was Gene Sterker or whatever that guy's on CBS. He was talking about statutory,
something like that.
Yeah,
I don't think that's right. That's a different term.
Either way, he was talking about how that was actually an interception right there. So that's a difference right there. And so just a few things going the Packers' way in the game, and then Broncos country's like, here we go. Nothing's going the Broncos' way, and the Broncos were end up able to fight this one out and get a win here.
Yeah, just fantastic in the end. I got to give a shout out to a guy, and I'm throwing his comment right up on the screen for those who are watching on YouTube, Facebook, maybe over on X. Michael Ronquillo called it. We were in our halftime show. He's like, man, we need to get turnovers if we want to get this game. like he said, he goes, I said, get a turnover, and PJ Locke interception helped us win the game against the Packers. I'd say more than helped us win the game. That won us the game when it came down to the end. I don't know what would have happened if they would have continued to march down the field. They were looking pretty good at that point. They looked like they might have the control and the time to do so. So, good call, Michael Ronquillo. I thought, man, maybe it needs to be Justin Simmons. Well, it ended up being Kareem Jackson's replacement, and PJ Locke came up big. One place he didn't come up big, and if anybody caught Payton's post-game press conference, he was not too happy. PJ Locke was one of the guys who blew us a timeout, as he was the 11th guy who should have been on the field in that goal line situation. So, man, tale of two stories, a story of two tales. I don't know what it is. Kind of like Baron Browning, man. Welcome back, Baron Browning, but a few costly penalties as well for this defense. Another, guy that we love to see eliminate some penalties. Mike McGlinchey, of course, once again gets called for a false start. Is second in the league now when it comes to those false starts. I want to get back to the comment board because, man, not only do we have a bunch of fantastic viewers I can see that are tuning in, but we got a bunch of comments coming in as well. Albert Knoppers coming in and saying congratulations to the New York Giants on their win as well. So congratulations over to Kenny and the K&K guys. Kenny coming in saying, my 16-13 projection was very close, I must say. And not only that, man, he said it was going to be a bunch of field goals. And if it wasn't for Will Lutz in this game, we wouldn't have been in this game at all. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. We got, I think, the first time we've had Pearl coming in here, and Pearl's coming in saying hello to us. Also saying, because I'm catching up just a little bit, sorry I could not join you either. Well, you didn't have to worry about joining us. I don't know if you've joined us before, but yeah, welcome on in, Pearl. I appreciate you. Appreciate you so much that my voice is about ready to give out there. He says, my dad would have loved the Giants winning. He was a big Giants fan, man. Well, that's fantastic. It sounds like, Pearl, like you and your father had a football bond, and that's what gives us the love and the passion, is sometimes the bonds that we create within the fandom, right? I can tell you, all these people in the comment board right now are closer to me than I've ever known, because none of you people I think I knew even within the last 2 years. And now I know your names. Some of you I know what's going on in your family life. We follow each other on Facebook or the like. So it's all about that. I'm glad that your dad would have loved this win. Maybe he's looking down and he still does, man. So I'm going to get into a few more comments. How's tanking working for the Jets? Missed out on Ty Law, if I remember correctly. And I want to see who this was from. Because is that Mr. Kenny?
I don't know. I'm just guessing
Oh,
the question.
Now you're just guessing on me. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's Mr. Kenny Kirkpatrick. So you got it right. Graham jumping in here and saying, what you think of Broncos trading their players? Now, we'll hit into this a little bit in this show, but really, I think we're going to tune into that probably a little bit more on Tuesday. Once all these games are done, once Monday Night Football is done, once we all know that the trade deadline's just that many more days closer. But that being said, Graham, Trevor, why don't you answer? I've been hitting all these comments. You take the comment. You take the answer. I'm going to get off the mic and maybe loosen the voice.
Yeah, Graham, appreciate you for tuning in again, and we really appreciate you tuning in at halftime. Yeah, so I think Broncos, this game doesn't change, I don't think, much of their approach at the deadline. I think, again, they have 6 picks total right now going into this coming up year's draft in 2024. So I think they're going to end up doing something. It's not going to be a fire sale. It's actually been reported. It's not going to be a fire sale. And so I would still expect 1 or 2 players to be moved. What those two players are going to be based on what the Broncos get in value. With Justin Simmons, maybe a second-round draft pick, I think you still have to consider moving him. Jerry Jeudy, a third-rounder. Cortland Sutton, a 4th, 5th-rounder. One thing to keep in mind as well is don't be surprised if the Broncos include a little bit of money in these deals so they can get a higher pick back. They did that with Randy Gregory. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. Maybe they eat a little bit of money in those guys' contracts to get higher term. But yeah, this game overall, I don't think it changes it, but it certainly helps. I think kind of show us what this team can be made of going forward in the future, and help some of these players' values like Jerry Judy, Cortland Sutton going
Mm,
forward.
that's true, man. Yeah, I mean, does it change my outlook? Not a lot, especially since that most recent report came out, like you referenced, that this is not going to be a fire sale. That being said, we'll probably be looking to move some people maybe on the defensive side of the ball, as reported as well. So, if it's a defensive side, we've already let go of a couple of guys. Um, I know they're taking calls, they're willing to take calls. But that being said, it's not a fire sale. So we'll just have to see, man. I don't think it changes it a ton. Excuse me, man. I do got to admit, and I apologize. You shouldn't do this, but I just got done with dinner before we got on. So I apologize if I'm if that's coming through on the podcast. Let's just put it that way. Albert Knopper is coming in here and saying PS2 had possession of the ball with feet with it basically with his 2 feet on the ground first before the receiver did, and that's what was pointed out by the rule official that they had in the broadcast as well. I'm gonna come in here to Graham as well. Kareem's definitely getting suspended after today. That was an ugly hit. I hate the way that some of these are actually coming about though. You can tell that he was in his movement trying to get probably shoulder first. I would hope so after all the penalties that he's incurred and just even his reaction afterwards. But the way that receiver finally gained his footing, end up turning, and they meet face mask to face mask for all. I mean, I don't know what they were trying to make it sound better, look better on the broadcast. That was face mask to face mask if I ever saw it, and it was. I mean, the guy went into concussion protocol. He had already been in Musgrave had already been in that once this season. He's back in it again. It was a bad hit. Is he getting suspended for sure, Trevor?
Um, I think I don't know if I say for sure. I think that there's a good possibility that he does, just because it's just continues to be something that reoccurs week after week. It seems like with Kareem. Again, I think Sean Payton alluded to this a little bit. I got to catch his post game a little bit, but he said that I think that Kareem gets thrown out of that game not necessarily just for the hit, but also because this is starting to become a problem, and he's had that little bit of a past history of that. So it's tough to say that this is the thing. Again, if the Broncos want to consider moving Justin Simmons going forward, do you move Justin Simmons if Kareem Jackson continues to have these games where he's lowering the head a little, too much head-to-head contact, and you wonder with the Broncos safety depth right now. You wonder if that's something that's on their minds as far as trading Justin Simmons possibly if you can't trust Kareem Jackson to learn from his mistakes per se.
Yeah, and I know that we were in comments earlier before the game even started talking about those who maybe weren't active today. We have some guys that could fill the spot. Obviously, PJ Locke came out big today, but JL Skinner once again didn't dress. JL Skinner at some point, I'd like to see. I mean, we invested something in him. He should get a little bit of playing time. Seems like with the up and down play that we've been getting from Kareem Jackson, it should automatically, give us opportunity to see a little bit more JL Skinner. Another guy that we want to see is probably Riley Moss as well. At least, if nothing else, get these guys involved in the special teams because those guys can be gunners. Those guys can be tacklers. That's what they should be doing, especially if they're working their way up from the bottom end of the roster. These guys should be on special teams and at least giving you the opportunity. And heaven forbid a Kareem Jackson gets thrown out of a game, at least you have the depth then as well. So I will say, gotta say, it seemed like it was very well orchestrated across the entire roster. The guys that were brought up and brought in and the type of game that we played very well. I'm going to get over to David Slade, though. He says, can we all call it like it was, that it was a battle of two bad teams, and we happened to win after blowing a 13-point lead. Is that how you see it? Is that how you see it, Trevor? Is that how you see it, other people in the comment board? Was this just a battle of two bad teams? We just happened to be the better of the the two after blowing a 13-point win. Is there more than that, or is that exactly how it is? How do you feel, Trevor?
No, I think it's just Broncos finally putting this team putting it all together. You look for all game long, first and second half. There really wasn't a half where they just kind of gave up like they did. And I would say gave up, but just weren't executing like they did in previous games. So this game they actually put a full game together for the most part. Now again, the defense broke down a little bit in the second half. The offense wasn't exactly helping things out. They were 1 for 4 in the red zone. I mean, that's the thing is offense. I mean, they got that one touchdown in the second half, but they weren't helping things out in the first half. That was part of my concern with the halftime show was that Broncos are settling for field goals and they get being too complacent with the offense and not putting together touchdown drives and finishing drives. And that was my big concern. But no, a win's a win in the NFL regardless. The Buffalo Bills found that out today when they lost to the 1-5 New England Patriots. I mean, it's not easy to win the NFL. So regardless of the team, what you may think of it, I think this is a win, and we should celebrate it, and then look forward and hopefully momentum go towards the Kansas City Chiefs into the Kansas City Chiefs game next week. And again, it's something that this team needed. I think all Broncos country needed, even if some are looking forward towards the future. I think we need to live in the now and look forward to this culture just being changing, a winning culture, not just expecting to lose, and hope for the future to be better.
I love it, buddy, because like you said, at some point you gotta start changing something. I pointed out in I think it was the K&K Sports Show. I actually came in with a comment and said, "My goodness, I would love to have the culture of a Pittsburgh Steelers." Now, granted, they're not necessarily been winning and putting up fantastic seasons the last couple of years as they've been transitioning out of their franchise quarterback that had been there for seemed like 2 decades, but well over a decade in Ben Roethlisberger. But my goodness, that franchise, the way it's ran, how many coaches they have, how solid their ownership and GM, you know, just their whole front office is. You know what I mean? They get piecemealed off left, right, and otherwise, and still just keep plugging along. So I would love to have something like that, but that only starts if you start changing the culture at some point. And at some point, it would be nice that you're not just tanking in order to try to get, once again, a quick resolution. We've had try to get quick resolutions in coach changeovers. We try to get quick resolutions in quarterback changeovers. We've tried just about everything. We tried to get quick resolution on offensive linemen and bringing in left tackles and right tackles that, never even hardly played for. I mean, you name it. Sometimes the quickest solution isn't the best solution to get you to where you need to go. So I want to get back to the comment board, though. See if I can get up here. All of it all together, I guess you could say. The commentator mentioned that should have been a turnover. Absolutely. Trying to get caught up in all this. I'm sorry. This is a question. Did you notice that Mathis didn't play too much, bud?
Yeah, I noticed that today, and I was a little bit of a surprise. But it looked like whoever, can't remember the guy's name now, but went in for him, had actually a really good game today.
Jaleel McLaughlin, was it?
For Mathis?
Oh, I'm sorry, Moreau.
Or yeah, Moreau. Yeah, Moreau. I can't think of his name. Yeah,
Fabian Moreau.
Yeah, it seemed like he had a really good game today. So you just wonder if that's, is that VJ or is that a Sean Payton adjustment? I would think it's probably more of a VJ, but that's a good, good adjustment right there because Moreau did play well. I saw today for the most part. So.
Yeah, it was, honestly, this is a guy that we had Kenny come on the show and talk about him just a little bit because this is a guy that played for the Giants last year. He said sometimes you'll love him, sometimes you'll hate him. Sometimes he goes for big plays. Well, he played solid today, man. He played solid enough that you weren't certainly calling out his name. You weren't saying, oh my gosh, Moreau again, which is something that, unfortunately, we've been saying a little bit more with Mathis. Overall, man, would you equate that more to the play of a Moreau or a play of PJ Locke? Or would you equate that more to, again, we talked about at halftime, this slimmed down, simplified scheme that it seems like has been now here for 2 weeks. Seems like they've been playing a little bit looser. Which is more in play here, the play of those two players or the play of VJ changing the defense?
Yeah, I don't want to downplay those two guys and what they've done because they've came up with big plays obviously for the Broncos defense right now. But I would say it's more I think BJ just adjusting these players and simply letting the playbook down so to more fit these guys and what they do best. And so, and you're seeing it back to back weeks now. This defense stepping up and doing what they need to do because right now the offense hasn't been consistent enough. The defense has not. We've been bending, but they've not broke. So I think that's a good term to use this past
Yep.
couple weeks. And I mean, we're seeing that right now, and we're seeing other players kind of, rise to the occasion a little bit. And maybe guys that aren't going to start, but are depth guys.
Which is what we need to see, and we've been talking about that and how slim we are on this depth. Next step is to get some of those other guys that we were talking about maybe into the mix to truly see what we have from top to bottom. Pearl comes in here and she says, "To me, it looks like KJ does not have the ability anymore, and he's basically playing dirty to get the job done." How do you feel about that? Is he playing dirty? Is he an older player, so he just hasn't adjusted? Is it just circumstance, like I was kind of pointing out a little bit earlier on some of these plays? Where would you rack this up, Trevor?
I think a little bit of both. I think he's an older vet, and so he's having to adjust to new rules all the time. And when it comes to the concussion stuff, they're always adjusting new rules to it, and it's just again, it's a whole referee thing and the circumstances of it as well. So I think it's a little bit of both. But I don't think that like Kareem wants to go out there and try to like intentionally try to hurt the guy. It's just kind of what he's been taught back in the day. And this is a veteran. This is not a guy that's just coming in the league. So he's having to adjust a little bit. He's having troubles doing so. Now he needs to start adjusting to that because I mean it's costing him fine, week after week with fines and maybe even suspensions. So he's got to start adjusting to it, and it's something that's becoming a recurring problem for the Broncos right now.
You know, I will say this: he must have a passion for the game
Yeah, he does.
because this guy is getting paid dang near nothing to be on this roster, if you remember correctly.
Yeah,
And with the fines that he's racking up and the suspensions that he's getting, it's not like he's getting a whole lot of headway as far as his pocketbook is considered. So goes out there and plays with a lot of passion. I do think he's just an older player that's playing kind of an older style of football. And yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the game is starting to pass him by, and it's habits. It's how you play. It's tough to change. We saw that when some of these rule changes started coming down on hits on quarterbacks and the whole and low hits on quarterbacks and the this is how players were used to playing. You know what I mean? You scrambled for any piece of that quarterback, and hitting him low in the leg didn't matter. You were just going for a sack, and you can't do that anymore. It's the same on the back end. I think Kareem Jackson is a lot more Ronnie Lott than he is today's safety, and it's playing out that way, unfortunately, in a way that is getting him fined and suspended and costing us, unfortunately, yardage sometimes on the field. We do need to transition on, obviously, from in safety. It seems like he's making it easier in some regards in order to try to say, okay, I think we need to start somebody else. You know, bring him in if it's that big situation where you think you absolutely need to get a stop and a stick, and someone might have to come up and level a big hit in there, and that's it. But yeah, I would look at getting him out, and getting other guys in. Um, Kenny coming in here and says, I do want to point out one bad that I could have cost you the game. VJ not realizing, and we talked about this, Locke wasn't in the game on the last Packers TD, and Payton having to use a timeout. I know I'm tuned in. I don't expect Kenny to be tuned in, but the post-game presser, and I'll bring up another comment as well, but talk about, once again, it was supposed to be bad coaching by the prior regime. We were supposed to be better about things like having the right amount of guys on the field. I think that was pointed out specifically, if I remember correctly. So once again, we have this come up. It could have cost us the game. Talk a little bit about PJ Lack not being on the field, Trevor. I'll get that other comment up.
Yeah, I don't understand, and that's two timeouts if I can remember right that Sean Payton had to use because VJ wasn't getting his personnel on the field right, and so it's just like I don't know why this is becoming a problem now with VJ. It's now the defense starting to play better, but now we can't even get the guys on the right guys on the field. And Sean Payton kind of, I don't say call him out a little bit. VJ called him out a little bit, at a post game press conference, but he just kind of said, I mean, we've got to start figuring this out. Can't continue to have this. And I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. It doesn't look good for Sean Payton. It doesn't look good for this defense when you can't even get your players out in the field right now. And so I hopefully that Sean Payton will hold BJ accountable, and they really need to start working on this at practice. They talk about it all the time, but it's like, well, it's becoming a recurring issue. So I think if we can work on this practice, get it taken care of, then it's not going to cost you down the line, because this keeps happening. You wonder if this won't cost you down the line as far as timeouts and everything else. Right now, it's fine, but again, it's you got to figure it out, going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And Pearl's coming in here. I was just reading this off to the side. She's saying, I'm not a VJ fan, but he almost lost us the game again. He has to go. Do you think we're still in that position of he has to go? Or, where would you be if you were running this team? Let me put it that way. And then you can answer how you think this team will actually play it out.
Yeah, I wouldn't get rid of VJ right now. I think that it's going to be really hard for you to. I mean, 2 games in a row, the defense has helped you and has stepped up and is improving. I don't know how you get rid of VJ now. I mean, and I just think that you just play it out the rest of the year to see how it goes, because even changing VJ, who says that's going to work exactly, and who you bringing in? You have Christian Parker, but he has no experience as calling plays as far as a DC. And as far as how I think they'll play it out, I think they're going to play it out just like I said. I think they're going to go through the rest of the year with VJ, unless we see 70 points or something around that in 2 games in a row, or it's becoming a recurring issue again. I don't see them moving on from VJ right now. In the offseason, maybe. But I don't think the defense would have been the issue. I think as far as if the Broncos would have lost this game. I actually think the offense inconsistency in the first half would have been an issue. And they're 1-4 in the red zone. I mean, we're going to hold VJ accountable. I think we need to be holding Sean Payton accountable too, because this is his offense. He's got to start getting this offense, working together better. They're moving the ball down the field just fine, but we're not seeing the red zone. They've got to start being better in the red zone. It's not going to mean much.
Yeah, well played. I do got to say this for anybody who tuned in during the halftime. We talked about a couple of different things, and Kenny was just agreeing with you as far as sticking with VJ. Put that up on the screen again. Thank you again for Kenny coming in from the K&K Sports Show, coming in on Facebook with us. But we talked about a couple of different things. One, I said that Russell Wilson needs to step up in the pocket, and he can't be trying to go backwards anymore. It wasn't working. We need to part in front of him and give him throwing lanes, and if nothing else, he can take off and he can run. You threw in that we need to see more screenplays, and then we need to see that interacted in, and some of the shorter plays, not just the long plays, brought into that. I think we both nailed it. I was sitting there watching the second half of that game, and that was one of the things that we saw. We saw Russell Wilson and this offense come out, and they did look effective in the second half. Something that I'm always concerned about. What are these halftime adjustments are going to look like? Are we going to get away from the run? We saw a bootleg. I think it was called back because of a penalty or something to the like, but I was looking for that. Trevor called it, came out as well. I thought the play calling was pretty good. The execution in the red zone, that needs to change. 100% agreed. Now, I think we did get one called back that might have been pretty iffy if it wasn't for this refereeing crew in the first half when Javonte Williams got in on a run and we end up having to settle for 3 instead. But that being said, we need to improve. What did you think, though, of that second half improvement on the offensive side of the ball? Once again, if you got to see that tasty little bite of Sean Payton, he was pretty upset when he was asked, "Hey, how about you getting the 10-game losing streak when leading in the second half?" He's like, "Whoa, ain't my losing streak. It's not. I don't have no 10-game losing streak. Not this team. Don't say it's mine." He got pretty tasty about it, little salty about it, I guess you could say. But this team, the second half, the adjustments. How'd you feel about it, man?
Well, of course, Sean Payton's not going to own up to anything, so and I'm not really surprised about that reaction. But no, I think that also one thing to point out is the balance, run and pass. And yeah, that was really good to see this game for the first time. I feel like all season long, this team really where they're committing to the run a lot more, which I think opened up the pass a little bit for us.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing again some of these shorter plays, not as trying to throw the ball 100 yards down the field, trying to make a big play out of it. I mean, this offensive line right now is kind of struggling with that. I still seen defenders get in Russ's face, and yeah, his scrambling ability. But I think again, I would like to see more play action. Get Russ outside the pocket because here's the thing: Russ is one of those shorter quarterbacks. When you have 6'4" offensive linemen, look like skyscrapers to Russ. He can't see over the field, so it's like what's best to do is to get outside the pocket and so he can see the field. That's when people's like, well, Russ can't see the field. Well, yeah, because he can't see over the offensive lineman. He's got 6'4", 6'3" offensive lineman, and what Russ is like 5'11" right now. So it's just like you have to be able to see the field, and I think getting Russ outside the pocket is going to be something that you can see more success. And that's what he did in Seattle to make him the successful quarterback that he is today.
Absolutely. I would like to see him out a little, out. But I got to say, from what I saw, especially in that first half, I thought the Packers did a fantastic job at trying to contain Russ, trying to keep him, within so that he couldn't escape. Even though we weren't trying to do play action, when he was pressed in that pocket, there wasn't an escape left, escape right possibility. It was either going to be a sack, escape up the front, or bail out the back, which is what he would end up doing. He'd end up bailing out the back and then running for his life towards the sideline and maybe hoping somebody gets open, and thank goodness never throwing an interception or putting up a dumb ball trying to force it down the field. So Kenny just pointing out that, by the way, that was the same ref crew that ref the Giants and Bills game last week. Pearl coming in says, I love Wade Phillips. If there was a change in the offseason, let's just put it that way, and we needed to bring in a different defensive coordinator. I definitely bring him in as a defensive line coach. A defensive coordinator. Would Wade Phillips just be on your top 5 list to bring in an interview?
I at least interview, I would say.
On your top 5. You only get 5. He's going to take up one of those 5 spots?
Yeah, I'd say that I'd still interview him.
Okay.
One thing is I worry about him being out of the game a little too long. I wonder would he still have that that mojo that he brought back in the day with Broncos defense. I don't think it's just coaching though. I think that this team, they still are lacking personnel. I think so. They got to hit these picks in the draft. But yeah, I mean, I think Wade Phillips, I at least interview him. I would say. What I don't want is Rex Ryan. Just don't give me Rex Ryan, please, because Rex Ryan has been out of the league since 2016, and he got fired. And I don't understand. Rex Ryan can talk all he wants on national television how he would fix the Broncos defense. I don't believe that at all. I think he'd be one of the biggest distractions of this team. And the locker room, I think, would just not like that. And you don't need that right now with this team here. DC throwing your guys underneath the bus. I just don't like that at all.
Stay tuned to the Denver Bronco Roundup that comes on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We'll talk a little bit more about maybe some Rex Ryan and defensive coordinators, like I said, as the postseason comes around. But Trevor, with the salty take on Rex Ryan. Wow. Okay, man. We'll have to tune in for that. Like I said, Broncos country, we need to go out. We can wear all our stuff tomorrow as we head out into the world. We can hang our heads just a little bit high. Don't feel too bad like don't feel like David Slade and say that we're just two bad teams and we got to win. Feel like Trevor, I feel. At some point, not much like the team, we need to have a little culture change within ourselves. We got to feel like we can have a little momentum within ourselves. Go ahead, take this win, absorb it, bring it in, let it, warm the cockles of your heart, and let it exude from there, I guess is the best way to put it. So enjoy the win, guys. I don't know how many there's going to be, especially moving forward. It's going to be rough. Hopefully this momentum can take us into a great game as the Kansas City Chiefs then have to come to Mile High next week. We'll be getting into more of that again next on Tuesday as we get geared up for that game. But yeah, enjoy the win, right? Right, Trevor? We should enjoy the win just a little.
Yeah, absolutely. I would enjoy it, and I mean enjoy it. I think rest all week until we talked about the Kansas City Chiefs game. I just say, I mean, again, what better way to get a dub against the Packers and then go against the Chiefs? Maybe you get a win there. I don't know. The Chiefs haven't been the same Chiefs. They got Miko Hardman back, so maybe that offense will get it right. But again, we held them 19 points against this last game, so I have a more confidence going into this Chiefs game than I would if the Broncos would have lost this game against
Absolutely,
Packers.
absolutely, man. Between the game that we just got off of, just came off, close game versus the Chiefs. Then you come in and you're able to get this win at home. For some of these players, it may not be Sean Payton's streak, but for some of these players, monkey off your back, Justin Simmons. Guaranteed. I guarantee all 10 of those were with him. I, I shouldn't say I should guarantee. I shouldn't say that, but it's almost statistically impossible for it not to be. As Albert's saying, Tuesday evening, Mountain Standard Time. This is the most fantastic. I think this is the best comment I've gotten all night. Pearl coming in saying, I will join you again. This is fun. I agree. 100% Pearl. Love having people like you. Love having people like Kenny in here. Love having people like Michael Ronquillo, the guy who kicked this whole show off before anybody was in here, including me or Trevor. So appreciate every single one of you. It's why we do this show. We love having the interaction of every single one of you guys. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. If you're over on Facebook, I believe it's, again, StreamYard.com/Facebook will allow you to jump right to the page where you can allow them to use your profile and your name. Would love that. Go over on YouTube. You'll want to do that. We're going to be giving away, well, it's sitting right back here. You talked about the guy that needed to step up. He didn't really necessarily make a big name for himself today, but this is, get it in the screen here, Jonathan Harris, signed training camp piece. You have the full roster on the back. You have all the games and all the training camp dates, and that, again, Jonathan Harris right there in the corner. That's going out to somebody because we got this win today. Make sure you're over there on YouTube and subscribing. That's the only way you can do it. Make sure you get in there by midnight, guys. Midnight. I'll give you till midnight. So no rush, but midnight. That's all you got. Kenny's coming in saying, be happy, Broncos fan. Let's see. Be happy, Broncos fans. Enjoy it, like Keith said. So who knows how many will come this year. Man, tripping over my lips as we're getting to the end of the show. So what else we got in here? Oh, we got Pearl coming in here again saying, great show. Thank you. No, thank you so much, Pearl. Appreciate you so much. Round of applause for Pearl. Winning is contagious. Just saying. That's Kenny as well. And just kind of rolling through these. Jeremy coming in here saying, what are the chances of us beating the Chiefs? And Pearl saying slim. Would you give it higher than slim, Trevor? And then we're going to wrap it up and probably get out of here, everybody.
I would say, I don't know. I haven't even looked at the Chiefs, anything about the Chiefs right now, how they did this week. But I would say, I'd say give it a 45% chance right now that they beat the Chiefs. I'm not extremely high yet, but I may change that by Tuesday. I got to get into the Chiefs mode after this game against the Packers. But I would say that, I mean, I think that, again, the defense has proven the formula to how to beat the Chiefs. It's just going to be the offense. Can the offense sustain success? Can they figure it out for a full game? Because, again, this offense, talk about the defense, and look at the stats, the defense may look worse. But the offense, you look at the game, the offense is still a big issue. And this is what you brought Sean Payton in for. And it's just, I'm going to continue to really pound the table on the offense because we're not seeing the consistency that they need to show. And we didn't bring Sean Payton in here and give us the draft cap we gave up to see field goals. I don't want to see a field goal. I want to see touchdowns. We got to start finishing in the red zone. So I do have a question before we get out of here, though.
Okay, I'm going to answer Jeremy's question. Jeremy's a good friend of mine, long friend of mine, so I really appreciate him jumping in here. Certainly deserves my answer on this. I will say that it's at least a 50-50 chance. we've got momentum. We've got the home field advantage. I really like some of the progress I've seen in the last couple of weeks, especially within this game. I know that it's a weaker team, but hey, man, you got to take the wins where you can. You got to develop the habits where you can. You can only go up against the team that's on your schedule. We got the win. It brings a little bit of momentum. I don't see there's any reason that we can't win this game. The Chiefs were in a shootout today with with the Los Angeles Chargers.
Catch.
And I almost got all the way through it with the Los Angeles Chargers. In the end, the Los Angeles Chargers couldn't keep up in the shootout, and the defense, allowed the Chiefs to continue to run. So Chiefs had a pretty big scoring game today in a shootout with the Chargers. We've shown that maybe we can limit that. If we can do that and the way our offense is starting to go, I like the run game the way it went today. I like the adjustments that we made in the second half. I like the tenacity that we had after the Packers came out and they end up leading the game and we had to come back and get back in it. This team showed a lot of heart, and that's what they're going to need if they're going to come in and get a win as the Kansas City Chiefs come in to Mile High. So though it may be slim, I'm telling you, there's still a good chance. Kenny saying, remember the Broncos held the Chiefs to 16 points, score 21-24. I think you can win next Sunday. And Pearl saying, always another day show, another day show and refs. Okay. There's always another day. There's always another show for us. And yeah, the refs will probably be involved as we have the Kansas City come into play. I'm not sure exactly what all those comments were, but that's how I'm putting it together, Pearl. So we appreciate everyone that joined us in. Final words before we get out of here, Trevor?
Yeah, so I have a quick question.
Oh yeah, you had a quick question. I'm so sorry, man.
Oh, you're good. So was Will Lutz the best Broncos offseason acquisition that they got this offseason? I mean, I'm just saying because he's been looked really good. I would say up until first game of the year.
Free agent?
Yeah, I'm just saying other than the draft. And free agent just acquisition total, I would say, because not seeing Marvin Mims on the field once again and Zach Allen, I mean, yeah, maybe, but She's not. Ben Powers, I wouldn't say so.
I would say that maybe he's had the best performance so far.
Yeah, that's that.
Yeah, because I'd say the potential's more in like a Marvin Mims.
Yeah,
it's just whether we can.
Up to this
get him fully flushed to the field. So yeah. Hey, as Coach pointed out in his presser, thought he did fantastic today. Think he's really hitting them flush, as Coach said, quoting him exactly. And to come back from the very beginning of the season, where you trot him out there, he ends up having issues. All of Broncos country is all over Will Lutz right off the bat. Especially after letting Brandon McManus go, and how dare we? But now it seems like Will Lutz has been nothing short of consistent, and anytime we trot him out, he's been nailing them and was big for us today. If it wouldn't have been for him, a couple of misses would have meant everything in this game, if not by score, by momentum alone and field position, you name it. It could have been big swings. We saw it for the other team as they missed one, and then that ended up being points for us as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, in the Chicago game, didn't he knock that field goal down to secure that win? I mean, so if you don't have Will Lutz and he doesn't knock that down, are the Broncos, 0-6 right now?
It's very true.
That's
very true, man.
I was just saying because
don't for all the people all the tankers out there, don't get them excited. Now you got them all excited saying Will Lutz cost us. Thanks a lot, buddy. We could have been 0-6 at this point. We would have been in the driver's seat. 0-7. 0-7, yeah. 0-7 in the driver's seat. Kenny's saying he learned how to kick in the thin air. I think there is something to be said about that. Yeah. It's a little bit different. It doesn't react the same. It doesn't have that same, thickness, I guess you could say, to try to cut through the air. It is different, but he certainly got it down. That was a 53-yard field goal that it looked like he had an extra 13 to 15 yards if needed on. So they reportedly hitting 63-yarders. Yeah, he's a consistent kicker. I'm just glad he's able to do it. that being said, if you looked at the flags at the top of those sticks, they were laying about as flat as I've ever seen them at Mile High too. So that didn't hurt as well. But hats off to him, man. He nailed every single one that we needed him for, and it ended up being necessary in order to get the game won. Kenny saying tank for potential, shaking head. So, yeah, we'll get talking more about that on Tuesday at 7 o'clock p.m. Mountain Standard Time. I got to talk just a little bit about, what this is all about, how we get to you guys, and that's all about the Denver Bronco. Well, the Denver Bronco Roundup is on Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Rocky Mountain Sports Network is a all Colorado sports network. You can check them out at, I'll get it up on the screen. Sorry. Man, I'm messing everything up tonight. I tell you, Trevor. Rocky Mountain Sports Network. You can find them out over on Facebook. If you just type in Rocky Mountain Sports Network, it's part of the groups. If you go over to RockyMountainSN.com, well, that takes you right to the website itself. And you can also find us over on X as well. But Rocky Mountain Sports Network covers all of your Colorado sports, whether it be, your beloved Broncos that we're talking about this evening, your Nuggets, your Avalanche, or even your Rockies. Check them out, Rocky Mountain Sports Network or RockyMountainSportsNetwork.com. Willow Seasonings is our fantastic sponsor. Willow Seasonings and Blends has award-winning sauces and rubs right out of Kansas City, guys. We're not talking like, hey, down at the local fair, I won a blue ribbon. No, we're talking about one of the epicenters of barbecue itself, Kansas City. Huge competition nationwide, obviously, because they traveled all the way from Colorado. That's right, your home state. That's where Willow Seasonings is based out of. Colorado, they enter into this Kansas City blue ribbon, first place. I'm telling you guys, best seasonings and sauces made from the love of what seasonings and sauces are all about. I'm getting my S's in tonight. Feel like I'm tonight, but that being said, guys, it's sizzling, it's saucy, it's spectacular, stupendous. No, willowseasonings.com. Check them out. When you're over there and you're putting in your order for all your wonderful seasonings and sauces, type in DBR 2023, get you 15% off. Guys, again, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate every single one of you guys. You can always catch us on Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Mountain Standard Time on the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Watch for these pregame and postgame shows. That being said, we're going to get out of here. Maybe I should try it. Keep your feet in the stirrups. Keep your guns in your holsters. And keep the Broncos in your heart. Until next time, guys, we're out of here. Thank you so much.